The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello and welcome to the Happiness Jungle TV show. CamiBaker.com here, Queen of the Happiness Jungle today, and I am honored to be with a king of the jungle, Mr. Larry Quemere. And Larry and I met, I love sharing stories about how I met the guests because it just goes to show that yes, you can get out and network, netweb as I call it, and meet people. So you and I were at a neuro-linguistic programming seminar in Boston about 3 years ago.
I think 4.
4 years ago. And a room of about, 200 people.
Easy.
And we hit it off and stayed in contact. And little by little, you came to several of my speaking engagements. We talked about partnering up on some projects and just have stayed in touch. And I haven't seen you physically in the same room in over a year. So I'm glad to have you here with us in the jungle. Larry, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I just want to tag into that story just a little bit because I'm a big person of coincidences, and I'm going to tag coincidences into what my subject matter is. But I always like to sit in the front row. And I ran into traffic that morning for that show. And I was late in getting there. Everybody was already in the room. I said, how am I going to get a seat in the front now with everybody in the room? But I walked in, I looked up front, and there was a seat right there on the right-hand side. Happened to sit right next to you. And I got talking with you, and we talked a little bit. And I asked you a couple questions about what you did, and you answered them a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right. You weren't exact to answer the questions that I had. But I said, wow. She's definitely focused on what she wants, but she just maybe doesn't know how she's going to get it right now. And when we came back from break, you moved yourself over to the other part of the room, and you were sitting with other people, networking, okay? And I took an interest of watching what you did because you had a little spin on you that a lot of people talk about what they do, but you had a past history of something that was motivating you to move. And I would assume that what I'm going to be talking about today was that you allowed yourself to just be free, as you said one time, to let the horse just lead you there. And you are doing exactly what I'm talking to people about to do today. So you're a living example.
Well, thank you for that. And just to let our viewers know, the reason why you have a much more in-depth or a much more aware and awake and present ability to notice what's going on is because you're a hypnotherapist and you help people to get out of their own way well, tell us a little bit about what you do help people with.
Hypnosis comes under a lot of scrutiny sometimes because they're associated with stage. But hypnosis really is taking somebody on a journey. And the most important person in that room when you're working with someone is the person you're working with. And the person who needs to listen the most is the person you're working with. And who they're listening to is they need to listen to themselves. So it's a chance to be able to listen to yourself in a way that there's no confusion. It's pure, because when you connect with your spirit, connect with your soul, and you allow yourself to just listen to whatever you consider to be your higher power, your intuition, whatever wording you want to use, there is a higher source. And you can get to that point where all of a sudden you start seeing things, hearing things a little bit differently. My job many times is just to extract the blocks, because people have blocks in their lives, patterns that they develop, habits that they have. Most people think of hypnotists as stop smoking or weight, generally along that idea. I excel in anxiety. I mean, I do weight, I do smoking, I'm a little cocky. I tell people, you come in, I ask them at the end, did you find a value in being here? If you say no to me, I simply shake your hand and say goodbye. You say yes, well, gladly, you can pay me. All right? And on smokers, I tell them, you got to crush your cigarettes and throw them away. Otherwise, didn't work. So I have no problem in doing that. But people who want to end up living their dreams, their passions, it's really about them uncovering what their core values are. Now, a lot of people out there talk about core values, and they do a great job. There's a lot of people out there who talk about awakening to who you are now, and they do a great job. And there should be as many people out there as can be talking about that, because I wish I was awakened a long time ago, but I did get awakened one day. And how you get awakened, by the way, isn't necessarily going to a conference or listening to a speaker or even listening to a coach.
Let's talk about how you got awakened. So how did you decide that hypnosis was for you? What was that moment in life where you thought, oh, okay, I'm awake, I want to help people wake up?
Well, let me just put in frame that before that moment, I was on my journey. So a lot of people don't pay attention to that journey that they're on. And the reason is because they didn't get that aha moment. That moment that says, oh, I got it. And it's clear as a bell. But all of that work that they did with coaches, watching a movie, reading a book, talking to friends, it's all in your unconscious and your subconscious. There's a difference between subconscious and unconscious. And what happens is that sometimes you end up getting into a moment that's that epiphany, that aha moment that you go, got it. So I do a piece that I talk about balancing the beliefs. And sometimes I talk out of two corners of my mouth. Just like the computer. You can do it this way, or you can do it this way. Or you can do it several other ways. Shortcuts, micros, hell. So when people end up getting that aha moment, I want to give credit to everything that they've done in their life to get them up to that moment, even their failures. Because a successful person is a person who knows how to handle failures and move on. A
successful person is a person who's had a lot more failures than an unsuccessful person.
Absolutely right. And you can get discouraged. And that's why in talking about goals, because the topic is goals versus opportunities, is that you have to have a goal so that when you meet that failure, when you have that obstacle, you don't quit. Because that's what we do. I'm guilty. Sometimes you say, I'm going to do this, and all of a sudden, oh, that didn't work out. And then you move over here, or you do it this way or that way. But if you really have a goal that works for you, that you want, nothing stops you.
Well, not only that, but your goal continues to move.
Oh, it does.
So whatever goal, let's say, for example, somebody says, wow, I really want to make $100,000. Like, I can't even imagine the ability to make $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year, I would be rich. So in that moment of thinking that $100,000 is the all-time ultimate, well, as we are growing and becoming and earning and raising our value in the marketplace so that we are worth $100,000, by the time you get to $100,000, now you think, I think 250 is a nice goal. I think I got it. But you couldn't even see that when you were below 100. So in other words, your goals start to shift and get bigger and better.
So let me take it on the part about the first one with the $100,000. So what I say to people is, so what's $100,000 going to do for you? Because I'm going to go with the word outcome. So a goal is limiting. You have a goal, it limits you. You reach that goal, you have to establish another goal. So sometimes you get too focused on the goal and you miss what you really want over here or what you really want over there. But you keep working on your goal. You get it later, maybe. But your goal doesn't necessarily give you what you really want. So what does $100,000 do for you? Why do you want $100,000? So you play it out. What's the outcome of you getting $100,000 today? Now, take your part. If you do $100,000, there's no reason why maybe you can't do $250,000. But what's $250,000 going to do for you? Now, I got to back up. Not that you're wrong, but if it's just the money, does money bring you happiness? Well, there was a university test that said $70,000. This was back 4 years ago. will bring you happiness because you can pay your bills, you can live someplace, you can do this, you can do that, you can survive, you can live in this world. But if you let money rule you, you miss something which is your core value.
I was using the number as an example that you can't even imagine 250, but you could imagine 100 once you get there. Now you can imagine.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
But I tell you something. I went to an event about a week ago, and it was at a co-working space, and I met the owner of the co-working space that is to the tune of millions of square feet.
Yeah.
And when I met this person, they were so miserable. They were so checked out. They were so unable of making eye contact and giving a good handshake and just saying, how are you? It was such an eye-opening, to your point, this guy owns millions of square feet of real estate and is just miserable.
Sure.
And it's just a reminder of money's not everything.
It's important, and there's nothing wrong.
Right up there with oxygen.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having money. Absolutely not. And you need to make money in this world in order to live. How you want to live, that's your choice based on the income that you can have. So I'm right with you. You want 200,000, 300,000, that's your choice. But if you get motivated, not by what you said, money is not evil, not at all. But if you get motivated by just the money, you're losing out. And the reason is, I'll take Steve Jobs, for instance. What makes them successful? And I'm going to go with Simon Stardick. And he analyzes this, and he talks about the why, which is the bullseye in the middle. The how and that is not that important. It's the why. And Steve came up with this piece of how he wanted to do his types of computers, how he wanted to sell them, the type of people he wanted to sell to. Now, that's marketing. But he did it from his core. He did it from everything about him, his core values. And that's why, company, he got out of the company, was booted out of the company. Company didn't do so well. And there's a lot of stories about him, about discussions in elevators and needing to do more and not being satisfied with what you have. Okay, that's all fair, okay. Company did a lot better when he got back into that company again because he had the why the company began. It's like Martin Luther King had 250,000 people in Washington coming to listen to him speak. No internet, no big channeling of information. The Standard News covered it, and the newspapers, which is people hopefully still know what newspapers are.
Newspaper was the internet in print.
Yes.
Remember me telling you that?
Exactly. But he didn't have any of that, and he got 250,000 people to come to him. And he didn't have a plan. He didn't present a plan when he made that speech. He told those people how he felt. He told those people to have a dream. He told those people how to make it happen without a plan, to start listening to yourself, to honor yourself, to value yourself.
So as a hypnotherapist, how do you help people to believe in themselves and to listen to themselves and to honor themselves?
Take away the pain. Take away the doubt.
Tell us how.
Have them visualize what they really want. So for instance, in goal setting, everybody pretty much knows about SMART. I don't know what camera this would be at or whatnot.
There's a red light over there.
SMART. And it's about being specific of what you want, measurable, action-oriented, because you got to act on it. And then I'm going to dispute SMART for just a little bit. Being realistic. That part of it is being realistic that it's achievable. When you work, when I work with people, I ask them, don't be realistic. Tell me what you really want. No, tell me what you really, really, really want. No. Really, 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 really want.
Don't you find that people can tell you all day long what they don't want?
Sure.
People are so good at telling you. I have this conversation all the time with my client. Just yesterday, brand new client. Let's talk about your goals. Well, I don't want to struggle. I don't want to go back to that job. I don't want. Talk to us about getting people from what you don't want into what you really, really, really want.
Get hypnotized.
There you go.
But what happens is that hypnosis really, there's a couple of pieces on it. One is that people say, well, what's hypnosis like? You can say meditation. You can say mindfulness. And you can bring in hypnosis. You can talk about a journey that you take. The simplicity of it is that when you meditate in the morning is one way, you meditate at night, it's another way. It should be different because you spent all day and things happen to you all day. And what you do is you learn to let go. You learn to become at peace with yourself and just let go and be still. Mindfulness is a little bit different than that. Mindfulness is being mindfully still in the moment, but being aware of everything that's happening around you and understanding the emotion that it brings to you, but not react to it. I'll give you an example. The other day, I had to use it. The other day, I was 2 lanes going into an entrance to the highway, and both lanes gradually merged into 1 lane. Okay, I thought I was doing fine. Made a left-hand turn in. There was somebody on my right-hand side, and I'm just driving along talking. Apparently, that big truck didn't agree with me, or maybe he thought I did something. Who knows? But I'm driving along, and all of a sudden, I look over to the side, and I was 1 car length ahead of this truck. Next thing I know is I have this large truck right alongside of me, and we're not going to have room. We're going to have to merge. One of us is going to have to give up and go. And I thought about it for a minute. And first I got a little angry at this truck. And then I said, mindfully, what's going on here? What's happening? And I realized, I'm getting upset by this truck. He's hitting a hot button with me. Well, what can happen to this? We can end up either having an accident or one of us win. I was distant from it. And that's being mindful. You're just mindful of what's going on around you, but you're not partaking in it. You're not reacting to it. You're just mindful. And so all of a sudden you can quiet yourself down and realize, let him go. And me not to have a thought about it at all.
I used to have a coach that would say, be aware, not beware.
Yeah.
Be aware of where you are and what you're doing. Just be aware of how you feel. So
that's mindfulness.
Give me an example of somebody that you've worked with. What was going on for them, why they came to you, and what was the result?
Okay. Person comes for a typical thing of stop smoking. That's what they come for. But there's 2 things that you'll learn. One is what you want, and one is what you need. And those are 2 different things altogether. Now, that person is paying for you, and I'm always saying stop smoking because you can identify with that, okay? They're paying you for that, so you got to do that. Otherwise, I'm not going to get paid, right? Because I make that claim, you got to take the cigarettes, crush them, throw them away. I throw in your lighter if it's not a keepsake, and bring me your favorite ashtray. Throw that away too into my bucket. I used to collect all these cigarettes, but then I said, nah, I don't need to collect them. Just do the work. Had them in a big sleeve, glass, you could see them all. Little ego in there on my part. Anyways, turns out that in talking with him, that man is riddled with anxiety to the point where it's hurting his relationships. So what I did with him was that I worked with him and I had him disconnect everything. In other words, I asked permission if it's okay. Disconnect from your car. It's just rubber and glass and fluids and leather, you get the idea. And because your car can make you happy and make you sad. Car, great day, radio's on, top's down, sunroof, right song, taking you right back to a moment. You are in heaven. Okay. You got to make an appointment. Car won't start. You're stuck someplace where you stop for coffee. You're not near home. Your cell phone is not working. You got to be in there in half an hour. Damn, this car gave me trouble before one time. I should have taken care of it. And you blame the car, of course. Okay. Then you go to the house. Clothes. You take away the clothes. You can wear whatever you want, but you open your closet door. You got social clothes. You got formal clothes. You got business clothes. You got funky clothes when you want to go and just relax and do some work out in the yard. All of those affect your personality. When you put them on, you feel that way. Okay, I like this shirt. I wore it today because I like this shirt a lot and I wanted to wear it today. Makes me feel good. You go to where your cosmetics are, whether they be combs, brushes, colognes, lotions. Disconnect yourself from that. And they raise their right index finger to let me know they disconnected from it. In other words, take away all the attachments. Then you go to their work and you have them disconnect from work. Your job is there, it's fine, just disconnect from it.
So the guy came to quit smoking, but then you find out he's full of anxiety.
Yeah.
So now you're having him disconnect. I'm just following the pattern.
Yeah, I had them disconnect from everything.
Okay. All right. So
because you can also do it with cigarettes, and you can have part of that was a cigarette, which they disconnect from the cigarette. And what they did was they got into that pattern of yes, yes, yes. You know, it's easier to keep with a yes than have a no, no, no and try to change it into a yes. So I also slide into their cigarettes, their habits of smoking, and to disconnect from it. I mean, I do a whole thing on cigarette, but I put that in there. And then their money. Just disconnect from money. Your money's safe. It's making money for you. Everything is fine. You're going to enjoy it. But for right now, get away from the fear of not having enough money. Get away from the fear of feeling guilty having too much money. I don't know how much money that person has, so you play both sides of it. And then disconnect from your family and your friends. You're going to go back to them, but you can go home, and if you're married or have a friend or whatnot, they can say the wrong thing, and that'll change you up. You'll feel it. Then the next thing you know is you're going back and forth, and you gave up your power. And then what I have them do is feel their power. After they let go of everything, I have them feel their power. And I have them put in this hand everything that ever made it heavy for them to live. Because now they've just reviewed everything in their life, even cigarettes. And in this hand, I have them pour themselves back out of this hand into this hand. And I have them give them their power back. And I have them realize that their power can blow the windows out of the office, the walls, and they have to tell me whether it is or not. I tell them, show me a finger that means yes, show me a finger that means no. Is this happening? They tell me yes. Now feel your power without anything stimulating it. Feel your power just by being in the moment, breathing in and breathing out, without being attached to anything. Now, blow everything off of this hand because it's light as a feather because you took your power back. When the person comes out of that, they realize, wow, that's what it feels like not to have anxiety. That's what it feels like to be at peace. That's what it feels like to just be present in the moment. And then I anchor it in. If they like it, I have them anchor it in so they can bring themselves back to that moment anytime that they want. The pre-talk is really where you lay all of the groundwork in. This just has them experience it. So the same if someone wants a goal. What you do is you work with them with the goal, you bring them back to their power. And you ask them what can take you, well, in the beginning you ask them in hypnosis what can take their power away.
I remember a lot of this from the NLP class that we went to.
Sure.
So for this particular guy, you go through all of this, now he comes out of the hypnosis, and how can you tell that he's anxiety-free or lighter or feels better? What does it look like?
What questions do you have for me? Well, I don't know if this is going to work or not. I don't like giving up control. So, I like it to work, but I don't know if it's going to work with me or not. No smile, nothing, stern, whatever it is, And they have that kind of job that might be. After it's all over, their eyeballs are glossy because that happens many times in hypnosis. They got a smile on their face that you can't believe. And the man's shaking my hand 3 times, and I'm like, have fun. Oh, and throw the cigarettes away.
Nice.
And to me, I never want to give up that work. And the reason was because I used to be riddled with anxiety, with IBS, a lot of years. And you live like a cat on a hot tin roof with it. Mm-hmm. I don't have it anymore. And when you ask me how I got into this, and I go back to the journey, all these things added up to the day. And I had a lot of wonderful, and people should have coaches, believe me. I had wonderful teachers along the way, but one day I got hypnotized. And I sat in my car. I used to have 100 part-time people working for me. I was A-type, you know, boom. I sat in my car, and I just sat in my car. I didn't think I was hypnotized. Heck no. It didn't work. Just another thing I tried.
You're smart for that.
Yeah, I know better than that. And I sat in my car, and I looked at the cars that go by, and I wasn't in a rush to get back to work. I just sat there, and I said, something happened in there, but I don't know what happened. And one thing I want to say that it's important, you don't know what happens. And I always teach every client, integrate it. Just let it integrate in. Don't have to know the answer, because if you do, that's just your consciousness. You want to work with your unconscious and your subconscious. Let that come up. Let that come up. And I realized sitting in the car, not then, but probably about a year later, I'm a slow learner, okay? About a year later, I realized that was the first time that I ever remembered being relaxed without trying to be relaxed. So that's how I picked up the system and the method that I use. Just bring someone to that point of being relaxed without any stimulation at all.
Well, your website is up on the screen, and people can find you on Facebook, etc., with your name, etc. We've only got about 90 seconds left.
Okay.
Who is a perfect client for you? Who is somebody that, boy, in 30 seconds, who's a perfect client?
Someone who wants change. Someone who wants to reach their goals. Somebody who just doesn't want to live the way that they're living right now and wants to make a change in their life. That's my perfect client.
Well, I know I have had hypnosis, and I, like you, had the superiority complex of, oh, this won't work for me. I'm way too smart for this. I can't be hypnotized. But I have been hypnotized, and being hypnotized doesn't mean that you relinquish control or, I mean, people do get up and squawk like a chicken and all that, but that's for the show. It really is just relaxing enough to get yourself out of the way so that better suggestions can be put in. So
I do have fun sometimes taking a husband and wife, and sometimes, you know, they want to bring the husband with them, and the wife comes back out, and while she's talking to the husband, I say, count from 1 to 10, and she misses 7. I say, count back, and she misses 7 again. And the husband, of course, is totally, but
if anybody wants to get hypnotized, they need to contact Larry. I've known you for several years now. We've had many conversations like this, and they always go very well. So, CamiBaker.com here with the Happiness Jungle TV show. We are super duper happy in the jungle. Are you?
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.